In 1989, author Peter Mayle wrote a book called A Year in Provence. The book quickly became a bestseller because it provided vivid descriptions of people, landscape, food, and many other things in southern France. So what is the secret? To know a place well, we need to live in a place. So that is why in June 2016, when I got the opportunity to work in PLCO, I was very excited. I thought this is really a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for me to learn the Pacific, the people, and about the operations in the Pacific. So time flies, more than a year has passed. Today I want to share some of my observations about the region and about our operations in the region. The Pacific has 14 DMCs for ADB, which accounts for about 1/3 of our total DMCs. And when we travel to the Pacific, I think one thing really struck most people is it's a really vast region. From the east to the west, the distance is 6,000 kilometers. And actually the whole size of all the 14 countries add together, it's twice as large as the United States. And in this vast region, there are 14 countries. The population of those countries turned to be small. In total, there are 12 million people in the 14 countries, and for 12 of them, the number of population is below 1 million people. We have some of the smallest countries for ADB. Tuvalu, Nauru, the population is just over 10,000 people. And of course, those are all island countries. So the ocean really shapes their economy, their culture, and their people. And the climate change, sea level rise, and so on, disproportionately impact on these countries, really more so than many other countries in other regions. Because of the very unique geographical conditions, of course, the Pacific faces many unique challenges. The first one is really the isolation, not well connected. It is very difficult to travel between the countries and to the rest of the world. For our missions, it's very difficult to manage a mission that can be completed within a week. And secondly, the cost of doing business, cost of living is very high. I mean, partly for the simple reason that when you need to transport the goods, services across such a large distance, logistics and cost naturally increase. And there's also limited competition in these countries, so the prices tend to be high. And also, the countries face many fragilities: economic, financial, climate change, natural disasters. ADB classifies 9 countries as FCAS countries, countries that face fragile and conflict-affected situations. 7 of these countries are in the Pacific. So of course, being in the Pacific, it's not just about challenges. There are many, many opportunities, and some of the opportunities are actually expanding over time. One, I have noticed that countries are so willing to reform, to improve their business environment. We know that the Pacific, traditionally, state-owned enterprises really dominate the economies. But increasingly, the private sector is playing an important role. And those countries also tend to be small, open economies. So the barriers to trade and so on are more limited. And the countries are also very willing to tap into the international markets for talents. So it's quite often that we say important positions, both in the private and the public sectors, are actually occupied by foreign experts. And then the Pacific is located in a very dynamic region. In Asia, we have the economic powerhouses like China, India, they are emerging. And close to home, Australia is performing very strongly. Actually, it has experienced uninterrupted growth for nearly 30 years. So all this provides a source of demand for products and services from the Pacific. As a development partner, ADB really carries a lot of weight. We are valued, we are respected, and we can be so impactful. One project can change the lives of the whole country. And we frequently, routinely really have the access to the most senior decision makers in the country. So in all my missions, I have been able to meet with finance ministers, prime ministers, which really was a new thing for me, because in my past operations, I really did not have this kind of access. And really that gives us so much leverage in influencing policy change, in supporting the priority investment, in being an important part of the country's development journey. But of course, the most advantage and opportunities come from the countries themselves, the people, the culture, the natural beauty. And tourism, for one, has been increasing fast. Over the past 10 years, tourism increased by 50%. And many agricultural products are also gaining an international reputation. For example, Vanuatu beef, PNG coffee, Solomon Islands carving, and Fiji water. So I want to share a picture of Fiji water. When you travel, maybe the chance is high when you are sitting in an airport lounge, you will have the opportunity to drink the Fiji water. Not only the quality is fantastic, the marketing, the package, wonderfully done. And there are more and more products like this from the Pacific. And then now, turning to our operations in the Pacific. And under Strategy 2020 and the review and the preparation of Strategy 2030, we want to be faster, stronger, and better. And I feel we are really doing that. In terms of financing, our financing has been doubling every 5 years since 2005. In 2005, our portfolio was about $500 million. Now our portfolio, the Pacific portfolio, is about $2 billion. And we expect this to be expanded to about $4 billion by 2020. So in addition to the ADB financing, PART has been very active in mobilizing financing from other sources, from donors, Australia, New Zealand, Japan, EU, working with the World Bank, and from many sources ADB has, for example, regional allocation. And we are up to now the department which has secured the Green Climate Fund for multiple projects, for 4 projects. We submitted applications for 4 projects, and we secured funding for 4 projects. So what do we do with this kind of funding? One, of course, is really supporting investment that helps to transform the countries, to improve the quality of life for people. So I just very quickly give a few examples. One, in Kiribati, we helped to rehabilitate more than 40 kilometers of road. This single road alone connected more than 50,000 people, really changed their lives. And in 2011, ADB approved our first ICT project for the Pacific, connecting Tonga with Fiji through over 800 kilometers of submarine cable. And we interviewed some people in Tonga. A doctor told us in the past, she needed to send the images and so on to Sydney, and it would take weeks for her to get the results back. Now it's within hours. It's that kind of a difference. Of course, transformation is not just about hard physical infrastructure. It's also about institutional change and many other things. PLCO is PART's private and financial sector division. So I also will give some examples in the private sector and the financial sectors. We have a large regional TA called the Pacific private sector development initiative. It has been in place for 10 years, supported numerous policy regulatory reforms. One of the reforms is to help the countries to set up the company registrations and change the legal and regular frameworks surrounding that. In Solomon Islands, it used to take months to register a company. Now it takes 2 to 3 days. And in PNG, we have had a microfinance project since 2000. Under that project, we helped the government to set up 5 microfinance banks. They are all well run with majority shareholding from the private sector. And in 2000, only 5% of the people had access to banking services. Today, the proportion is 20%. It's still low, but much higher than in the past. Over 100,000 of people, many women, were trained under this project. And then I also want to share a very small intervention that made a great difference. In Nauru, for 10 years, the bank had no banking services. And we helped Nauru to introduce a bank agency. And I talked with the finance secretary. He said in the past, he had to hand carry millions of dollars from Australia to Nauru. And imagine how risky that is and how scary that is. But now he doesn't need to hand carry so much cash across the borders. And that is true for so many other people. So part is very big on regional approach, partly because we are so small. So pooling the operations across countries really offers the scope for some economies of scale. I will give one example. Last year, the board approved the MFF for renewable energy facility. The amount is $750 million, which is really huge. And it's the pooling of many operations for 11 countries. And imagine we have to have numerous small operations, how costly, how time-consuming, and how burdensome that can be. So the regional approaches have been used in multiple projects. And we know that things do not always work well. Many times we needed additional financing for cost overruns. There are times projects are approved but are simply not moving for years. And the issue is, how can we make a difference? So over the recent years, PART has really pursued the approach to make project ready before the board's approval. And in 2015, just as ADB refined our project design project design advance, 3 projects in PART secured the PDAs. This morning, the board approved a project for Nauru Port, and that project benefited from PDA. We used 3 years, spent more than $3 million to get the project ready. And the construction, after the project is approved, will take 2 years, not 5 years, not 6 years. And imagine that kind of cost savings and how that can really mitigate the delay and the cost overrun risks. And then for us to really provide the best services to our clients, we need to be close to our clients. In PART now, all the 14 countries, we have some kind of field presence, ranging from dedicated country offices to just maybe one person. But that one person makes such a huge difference. And this is a photo when the president visited the Solomon Islands in August. The photo was taken from the extended mission in Solomon Islands. And that was in August. This was in February, when our colleague also had contributed to really build the office. So those are the colleagues who are based in the Solomon Islands. So that's the before, and the present photo is after. So some more photos when we were opening the office in February last year. And we had the Shanbin sitting there, standing there. We had the opening was so successful, generated so much goodwill in the country and with partners. So of course, things do not always run smoothly, and we face tremendous difficulties in so many fronts. And the key is, I think the team is so dedicated to overcome all these hurdles and working within colleagues, within ADB and with donors and with our DMCs. But I also want to share a few general issues that often we feel are confronting small operations more than others. The first one is about cost-benefit analysis. We all know that we want the operations to be financially sustainable, economically viable, but if a project's fixed cost is so high simply because it just costs that much, and when the beneficiaries' number are so small, how do we really meet this kind of requirement? And our current economic analysis actually provides a lot of scope, but still we can't avoid the question. For example, the Nauru Port project approved today is $80 million for 11,000 people. Every stage when we went through the due diligence process, review process, one question is, why so much money for such a small population? Really, what is really the balance to answer these kind of questions? The second one is on business process. And we have made a lot of inroads in simplifying, but I still feel that the processes are more geared towards large operations. And the processes are very similar between smaller transactions and the larger ones. Often we have co-financiers coming to us saying, we have $100,000, $500,000, please can you use it in some of your projects? And many times we have to say no, because the paperwork, the kind of transaction costs we have to go through are just so huge and so intensive. We don't have resources to go through that. And this maybe, of course, creates some missed opportunities. And then the third one is on capacity building. We have been providing a lot of TA resources to support capacity building. But in the Pacific, we know the capacity constraint is a permanent feature. It's not in transition. No matter how hard we try to build the capacity, the countries are very small, the pool of expertise are so small, there are many talented people, but the number is very small. That means they would constantly need partners to supplement them on a long-term basis. But our TA has a finite life, and we start, we stop, and we start again. How do we reconcile the kind of long-term needs with the TA time frame, which is finite? Okay, so I have been spending more than a year in the Pacific. I find it's a greatly rewarding experience. It's very rewarding because we really have seen so many results, and the results change the lives of individuals and change the lives of the whole population in the country. For example, the Nauru Port project, we know that will make so much difference to the whole country. And this is when the president visited, we had one bridge which was completed. We were doing the ribbon cutting. And I also find it very rewarding because I'm with a very dynamic team, and the department is so willing to embrace change, so willing to explore and to innovate, and so willing to challenge ourselves to do better. And most importantly, I feel it's a really personal growth and a learning journey. And it's not an individual journey that we are searching on our own. It's a journey we travel with our colleagues, especially with my wonderful colleagues at PLCO, I think, who are sitting there. Thank you. I'll stop here.